Hey everyone, once again, we're doing TV show reviews, and we're going to continue our saga of Hideki Anno's greatest piece of work, and an absolute tour de force of animation, plot telling, and character-driven motivations. And since we've already done the first two episodes, let's go for episode 3. Neon Genesis Evangelion, episode number 3. It is officially titled A Transfer. Okay, once again, just like the other episodes of Neon Genesis Evangelion going throughout the whole series, there are two different headers. There's the first half and the second half. The first half is called The Phone That Never Rings. Now, The Phone That Never Rings has an interesting complex because it takes place after the first two episodes, where the first two episodes were about the first angel battle and how it went, what Shinji went through those two battles, or through that one battle, and it looked at it both from a psychological point of view, the point of view of a child who's in the middle of a war that he has nothing to do with, and someone who's just there because his dad asked him to be there. The first half of this show is very reminiscent of an old English broadcast TV show in the fact that it grounds everything. The first half grounds everything, where while the opening scene you see Ritsuko taking Shinji through an opening practice of what the third angel would be like. And this show has many monumental moments, quotable lines, everything like that. You know, Shinji gets shot up into this tube, and they tell him, do what we rehearsed already. Aim it in the center, point, shoot. All that, and then we have this conversation between Ritsuko and Maya, where they conversating, and Maya goes, "Oh, it looks like he'll just do anything that we ask him to do," and then Ritsuko analyzes Shinji by going, "Yeah, he just seems to be built that way," which would be a running theme throughout the show. Which this show, while the second half is action heavy, this show really is something that builds from one episode to the second episode to the third episode. There's a portion of the first part of this episode where Misato and Ritsuko talk about the hedgehog's dilemma. This is the part where I get a little bit confused because the next episode, episode 4, is actually entitled The Hedgehog's Dilemma, but they actually talk about it here and phrase it. So a transfer and The Hedgehog's Dilemma, I can understand why people get confused about it, because the actual theory about it comes in this episode. There's a part where Ritsuko is talking to Masato, and Ritsuko's saying, "Oh, Shinji just kind of does whatever whatever he's told to." Masato counteracts by saying he just seems to be built that way. That this is literally, not verbatim, but this is literally the conversation where Masato goes, "Oh, he's just kind of like a hedgehog. He'll curl up, and if anyone gets close, he'll push them away." So the first half also has the interesting thing because we get introduced to two of the characters who will be featured prominently for more or less the majority of this movie or this TV show, and in both of the movies. one is a dweeby nerd, Kinsuke Ida. The other one is a seminal jock, and you can, not only by his attitude, you can tell he's a jock, but he's the only one who wears a different attire than everyone else. Everyone else is donned in pretty much, you know, school uniforms, where it's white shirts, navy blue pants, and then for the girls, they have a white shirt, red tie, and then kind of like a light blue dress. He's the only character who's in this who has a tracksuit on the whole series, throughout classes, whatever. And let me get into these two characters right now. Neither one of them are likable. These are both, and as far as writing archetypes in an anime, people need to pay attention to this. Because if you look at it, Toji may be the jock character, but he's never a bully. He is totally believable as the character he's in, because his best friend is Kinsuke, who's the absolute opposite. He's a dweeb, he's a nerd, he's a sci-fi fanatic, he's a war-aholic or war paraphernalia. You know, he enjoys capturing stuff, and they're both best friends. And it's never the type of archetype that would be in an American TV show or even an anime now, where, oh, one's a jock, he's gonna treat the nerd like he's lower. There are many times, including in this episode, where he admits he's inferior. So take that for what it is, and actually that's pretty interesting characters in any sort of field. So there's that. So they're introduced in this episode. There's the famous scene where Shinji admits that he's the pilot, and Toji punches him twice. One time because, well, he kind of does it for like unintentionally reasons, because apparently his sister got hurt in the first episode's happening, and he needs to take it out on someone. Shinji was the pilot of the robot. He just found that out. He's gonna do it. The second one is because Shinji tried to throw it off. The second time he punched him, Shinji tried to play it off as if he was forced to do it. And yeah, we can go back and forth, but Toji took it as a cop-out, and he hit him again. So we have a dejected Shinji. We have two new characters into the show with Toji and Suzuhara. And then all of a sudden the alarms sound. What is it? The coming of the fourth angel. So this brings us to the middle of the show, where we get to the next part of the show, which kind of doesn't make sense as far as titling goes, because the title of the next part is called A Transfer. And this part is more or less action. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, even though it kind of sounds like I spoiled the first part, but I'm just kind of like setting up how the world works. And the second part is more or less the fourth angel hits. Shinji fights him off. Choices are made. Once again, Suzuhara being the competent one or the smart one of the group, he manipulates Toji, because once again, this is a grounded episode. So once the alarms go off, we find out that the kids and everyone have to go to designated bunkers. no, Kinsuke says, you know, Toji, we need to go out, we need to see this during the battle sequence. The battle sequence itself is not the best in the world, but it does lay the foundation. And once again, this is a show that builds on top of builds on top of builds without hammering you over the head of it. Because at the end of it, there's a part where you see the exposure of a certain part of the angel, much like we did in the second episode, and it kind of questions, or not the angels, the Unit 1, and you kind of question what's exactly going on. This part of the story I don't want to get into because the fight scene is actually pretty fun, kind of interesting, and then it has a great segue to the fourth episode because of the fact that you kind of sit there and you see the setup develop. You know, Toji sees what Shinji's going through, and then it kind of leads to the next episode, which we'll get to tomorrow. But that's episode number 3 of Transfer. It's very much a story of 2 episodes. The first half of the episode is introducing Shinji to normalcy. The second half is going back to the fact that this is a world that's being attacked by monsters. But it also does an interesting job with incorporating new characters. I really like this episode, so go out of your way to watch it. Tomorrow, I'll actually be reviewing episode 4 with someone else, and I'm not quite sure who it is, but I think he's been on this channel before. So anyway, until next time, thank you very much, and we don't promise more fan service.